Check 1, 2. Is it working?
I think so. Looks like
It
it's
looks
going.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I'm Julian Meush. I'm joined by Rachel Wilkinson,
Hello.
and welcome to a very special traveler's edition of the small screen Star Wars. I've had such an ordeal, Rachel. I am
Okay.
exhausted. I'm on vacation. It's nice. We're up in the national park. It's lovely. But last 2 nights we had run-in with a bear. The 2 nights ago, yeah, a really big black bear was in our
Oh.
site and left a giant turd in our campsite. And then again last night, it was across the street messing with the other campers. We think it's the same
Oh.
bear.
Yeah,
And
probably.
then also, my dog pulled me off my bike today, so I'm a little bumped and bruised.
Ooh.
But on the bright side, we've
Ouch.
discovered pickleball. So we moved into the 21st century, and things are looking bright. We have lots of 60-year-olds to beat at pickleball. That's the one bright side of the trip so far.
I hear people really hate pickleballers though,
Is
because
it
it's
because,
loud and annoying.
well, it is. I've
I
never,
don't know.
I've never heard that, but I can see them. I could see some people saying that, but also those
I
same
think
people
it's
have
like the
obviously never
sound
tried
of it. Yeah. I mean,
it.
fair. I've never tried it. I don't know what it is. Like a mix between ping pong and tennis or something. I don't know.
It's like mini tennis with a wiffle ball, so it's so much slower. It's much
Yeah.
more.
Okay. But doesn't
It's
it
like
go like punk,
approachable.
punk, punk? Like, doesn't it
Yes,
make that noise?
yes, it makes it
Okay,
like,
yeah. So apparently
yeah.
people who like live by those courts get really pissed off because it's so annoying.
Yeah, well, people who live by anything get pissed off. Oh, your dogs are making noise. I live next to a dog park. It's like, man, lighten up. That's how I feel about that stuff.
Fair,
Put some music
fair.
on or something if you're so
Okay.
annoyed.
So wait, where are you camping? I thought you were at your cabin for some reason.
No, we're up at Clear Lake, which is the most lovely
Oh.
place on earth. It's so
It
amazing
is very
here.
nice there. That's true.
We did a pickup match with pickleball this afternoon. After a long day on the beach, lovely. The water here is
Cute.
freezing, but it's really nice and refreshing. So yeah, we're off to see to Regina next. Go see some football and then come back after the long weekend. But that is all to say that it's been an ordeal. Between the Bears and also my normal laptop not turning on, it just won't turn on. So
Yeah.
so that's great. And which also means that probably you're not listening to, or you did not hear intro music, because this is going to be the most bare bones production we can do, given what I have available.
As usual.
Well, I'm not. I like to say
Our
that
production value is just going down over here at Small Screen Star Wars, so
it's
we need
it,
more. Become a Patreon if you're not one.
That's right. Help support the show. I need a new laptop. Um,
Yeah.
there's just so much. There's just so much to figure out. So, anyway, I appreciate everyone's patience. Fortunately, we got the 3-hour episode out of the way last week after the 2-hour premiere,
Yes.
and that was a long haul episode that it took a lot of energy to get through it. Fortunately for this week, we're dealing with a half an hour episode. We're going to fly right through it, I'm sure, this recap. I've entrusted you with the recapping duties this week, so we're going to see how that goes.
Don't tell them that.
Why? What's wrong with that?
I said, because. Okay, well, I didn't make 6 pages of notes like Julian normally does, so it's
With half
very
episode, there
to the
wouldn't have
point.
been 6.
Also, a lot of yeah, a lots of stuff is in my brain too, so you're gonna have to just deal with that.
You
And
know,
shout out to friend of the show, Brian Airy, with Skeet Screen Crush, because
helpful.
he helped me out a little bit
Okay, lovely. Not, you mean, like, not
with some
personally.
little Easter egg hints.
Yeah, 100%.
No,
I'm looking forward to the reference to Resistance, or whatever that show was, um, on Disney XD a
I've never
million years
watched it, so I needed that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
I I did see
because
some of
there
that
is that, and I
show.
was like, who has watched that show? I think I tried to watch it 1 episode, and I just couldn't get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a different art style again. It's really aimed at a younger audience. It's
Mhm.
very slapsticky. It's very Clone Wars season 1, in my opinion, and
Yeah.
that's fine. It's just not really aimed at
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
It's certainly the redheaded stepchild of the Star Wars animated content world. I think it probably
Hey,
has the worst
there's nothing wrong.
with redheadeds
There's nothing wrong with redheads. My baby is a redhead.
or stepchildren. Right.
He is the cutest. So he's not a
Right.
child.
Okay.
He's
Well, who knows?
my real child.
Maybe he'll grow out of the red hair. You never know.
It's like strawberry blonde.
Yeah, it could change. There's still lots of time. I mean, how are we still feeling? How are you feeling about the first two episodes, and now having seen this third one? How are you feeling about the show as it is right now?
I'm still liking the show. The only complaint I really had about this episode is I just wanted it to be a little bit longer. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm
this
hoping that the
classic
other episodes
stuff.
going forward are longer, but
This is
yeah,
just
I'm
typical
just
now.
greedy.
Well, there's actually here.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic, I was doing some reading while I was on the beach today about this episode, so I was ready with a little some snippet, something. Since I knew I wasn't doing the recap, I wanted to bring something else to the to bear here. So there was, I think, the Collider episode here. I want to read from a review that mentions this length issue. Let's see. No, that's not it. I'll have to come back to it. But I mean, do you just feel like it needed more length, or you just wanted more length?
I think I just wanted more. Sorry, it's the way you said that. I said nothing. Never mind. Yeah, I think I just wanted more. But I'm just hoping that the other episodes that are coming up next aren't at that like 35-minute mark. I like when they're kind of right around that 40-minute at least.
Yeah,
40-45 is where I'm happy.
yeah. I just feel like they're shortchanging themselves. So here, I'll read from this Collider review / recap. So, quoting here, with the exception of Andor and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which took advantage of their captive audience's streaming attention span, all of Disney Plus Star Wars series have suffered from two short episodes that nip their potential in the bud. After a lengthy 2-episode premiere, Ahsoka immediately fallen into the same trap with Episode 3, which clocks in at only 30 minutes. The short-form storytelling seems to mirror the formula that fans of the Clone Wars and Rebels are more familiar with. However, these series always had seasons that spanned 15 to 22 episodes. Shorter episodes within these longer seasons made sense because the stories they sought to tell had time to build across episode arcs. With Ahsoka's 8-episode season 1, Dave Filoni does not have time to leisurely meander through the story, and with the ironically titled Time to Fly, it has never been so apparent. I really felt that jumped out at me because the comparison there to the longer seasons of Clone Wars, I'm used to 30-minute Star Wars episodes, but what I'm also used to is immediately starting the
Right.
next one of that arc, right? And just watching all three. It's usually about an hour and a
Yeah,
half,
that's true.
or I guess 22, 44, 66 minutes, right? If you, for old school 22-minute cartoon runtimes. But now, and I talked about how I really liked the deliberate pacing of the last 2 episodes last week. And I really appreciated their time that they spent just waiting, giving us time to just appreciate the characters more. And then this week, that hasn't really changed, but now we're 1 episode away from halfway through the season, and they're throwing out 30-minute episodes where the end of the episode itself is not very dynamic. Like where they leave off, spoilers for the rest of the episode here, with this, go hunt them down in the forest thing, easily could have been a mid-episode, transition to another act of the
Yeah.
story, right, into the final act. But instead, now it feels
Yeah,
truncated and shortened for
exactly.
no reason. So it's frustrating for me. It's
Yeah,
fortunate for us because given the circumstances, a 30-minute episode makes our jobs a lot easier for this week, especially mine.
that's true.
And,
Yeah.
and especially because I'm going to be uploading the show off my phone's LTE, which means, the shorter the show, in our case, the easier it's going to be on me. But as far as my
Yeah.
true Star Wars fandom side of me comes in, I think these episodes need to be an hour. I think I would like them to start learning this lesson, which is to say that, if you want something to feel big and cinematic, you need to give them something meaty. give audiences something to sink their teeth into. I was just getting engaged in the episode when it ended, and I thought, are they going to cut it here? And then they did. I was like,
Yeah.
that's really disappointing. So that's kind of how I felt about it. Otherwise, I liked the episode. What what were your thoughts on the episode as a whole?
I think we covered a lot of really good, like, stuff in it. I don't know, from we're obviously gonna get through it, but I there was a lot of, like, callback I found in this episode, very maybe not overtly, but at least subtly, to things we've seen before with, other characters when it comes to, like, Jedi training and, just storylines, especially some of the Rebel storylines too. So I liked these kinda little callbacks we're getting with Sabine in her Jedi training, and also that it seems like we're moving forward with Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship, and, like, that's getting a little more mended. They're working better with
Well,
each other
yeah,
now, so
it's kind of
we're
it.
moving
If
along.
they basically immediately threw out the conflict between Ahsoka and Sabine, so it's not that it's not there entirely. It's just mostly gone. She's really now more frustrated with her lack of force abilities than she is anything else. And personally,
Right.
I think her lack of force abilities and that question mark about, like, her fight against that little teacup or whatever in the episode is more compelling than a lot of other stuff that we've seen. I really liked this mystery about whether or not she can tap into the force, right? Hu Yang doesn't feel like
Right,
she
right, yeah.
has the abilities to do it. She would never been accepted into the order, et cetera, et cetera. That irks Ahsoka because she
Mhm.
feels like, well, she wasn't, she abandoned the order. They don't have all the answers, right? And more, and then to kind of put a bow on it, I really love how it gives credence, it gives oxygen to The Last Jedi, a movie, and Broom Boy specifically. But Last Jedi and its message about how the Force resides in everything and everyone and, well, all living things, as Ahsoka says in this episode. Um, that it's the potential is always there. Of course, skill is a factor. I like to think of, like, pro sports, right? Everyone has the ability to
Yeah.
pick up a football or kick a soccer ball around, right? Not everyone has the dedication and training
Right.
and inherent, skill that gives them the leg up to get to that professional level. Think of Jedi as, like, pro tier force users. That's kind of how I think about it. But
Yeah,
again, the
exactly.
the Last Jedi, followed up by the worst film in the franchise, Rise of Skywalker, gave us a kind of rejection of that notion. Not inherently, it doesn't explicitly say that, but by making Rey a Palpatine, it kind of
Right, yeah.
unwinds a lot of what the Last Jedi was trying to set up and say, right? So I really like that
Yeah.
element of this episode, and not just this episode, last episode as well, and kind of where this is going. Is there a way or world in this episode? And this is a question for you. Is there a way for this show to be pull off the landing here where either she does move the cup and taps into the force, or B is never able to and is able to justify that in some way or find her own strength somewhere else? How do you feel like the show's going to handle that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that is the main question, right? I think that's something that we're not gonna see probably until a little bit later on, at least a couple more episodes, if not the end, right? But yeah, I it's hard for me to tell whether I want Sabine to be able to use the Force or not, because I mean, we do see her do similar Jedi training with Kanan in Rebels, if, anyone in here has not watched Rebels. Um, so we do see Kanan, training Sabine how to use the dark saber, which I do feel like the dark saber, not necessarily that it needs you need to be in tune with the Force, but I think you kind of do, like, a little bit. I think it helps.
Well, it's
Um,
interesting you
but yeah, I
mentioned that
mean,
too.
I yeah,
I think that's interesting because the dark sabers like, oh crap, you still hear me?
I
You
can
still
still
hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay, crap. My computer logged out while I was in the middle of this. So anyway, this is going to be such a great show.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's coming back. Um, so, it helps if I spell the password right. You ever use the wrong keyboard or a new keyboard and it's like you might as well be a 5-year-old typing again? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I
I'm
won't
back.
lie, you sound better now than you did a minute ago. Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. It's fine.
Okay, let's
I
continue.
think it's
Again,
picking up your computer mic again,
maybe.
but it's fine.
The concept here is that this episode is going to be a little rough around the edges, but that's okay. We can handle that. We can handle that. So what was I saying? I was saying that you bring up the dark saber because Din in The Mandalorian struggles with using it because he can't tap. He's not in balance, right? And Kanan
Right.
in Rebels teaches, as you mentioned, Sabine, and his whole lesson is about, and I don't remember this exactly, but if my memory serves, it's really about connecting with the blade and all that kind of stuff, which is much more about connecting with the Force, which
Yeah.
is a concept that I guess anyone can connect with the kyber crystal because it acts as this amplifier, right? So whatever in latent abilities, even if you
Yes,
if you
yes.
can really tap into it, the lightsaber will work with you because it's amplifying that. So I don't disagree that she has some abilities. I think she has like basic. It's like if we tried to tap into the Force. It would take lots of training, and it would be
Yeah.
mostly frustrating, and we might only be able to like move a pebble or something, right? That's what I feel like Sabine's
Right.
at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I'm not gonna be mad if she can move a cup. I would be maybe a little bit annoyed if, like, it takes her 0 time and then all of a sudden she's, like, super powerful. Like, that would probably be a little bit frustrating, but I'm
Agreed.
not gonna be mad if she has, like, lighter abilities or, slightly different abilities. I honestly think at one point she is low-key using some force abilities in this episode, but by not really realizing it, though,
When she's in
when
the gunner
she's
seat.
navigating through the Purgles.
Oh, interesting.
No, not in the gunner seat, when she's flying the ship later, like, through the Purgles, and I just feel like she's able to do it in such a way that she must be able to, like, sense where they are and where they're going to be, because she's not running into them and not, you know what I mean? Like, she's not having an issue flying around these tentacled giant whales,
Hmm.
and she ends up losing those to Shin and Merrick, right? So I don't know, I thought I was like, "Okay, well, maybe she is unknowingly with just her intuition and flying is able to kinda use a little bit of the Force," but I could be wrong, but,
No, there's been, I mean, there's been videos already on YouTube about a bunch of this where it's like, has she been showing that she has force abilities the whole time, and like going back and looking at examples from Rebels, and saying, well, maybe this was a time or that was a time. Now, in my opinion, I think that's mostly a fool's errand because what you'll see in any of those is that any of the main
yeah.
characters look like they could be using the Force because guess what? They have plot armor. So convenient things happen for them, not just because they have the Force, but because they're the main characters of the story. So that I don't know if that's an entirely accurate way of looking at it, from an universe perspective. Maybe I don't know. It's the number one question mark for me. Obviously we know Thrawn and Ezra are coming back. How? Sure, that's interesting, but this whole question of Sabine, which is the biggest surprise, obviously we didn't really. I mean, it was in the trailers, but they're really flushing out this concept is really interesting. So we'll see how that plays out. And obviously there's this whole
Yeah,
specter of the Mandalorians and how few Jedi Mandalorians there have been. Very very few. One that we know. Tar Vizsla being the kind of the the namesake one that we all think of with the dark saber and all that. But I guess there's this extra baggage that if she can tap into the Force and she can become a quote unquote Jedi, then there's kind of like this whole other lineage aspect of how that plays into the Mandalorian stuff that's going on, tangentially to this over on the Mando universe side. So we'll see. Okay, so my just quick brief thoughts on this episode as a whole was I mostly liked it. I like that it's still kind of deliberately paced. I don't like how long it is, but I like that there's a dogfight scene. Just don't get enough of those, in my opinion, on the TV side of Star Wars. So really happy that we got that. I think it looks great. We got to see a glimpse of the New Republic fleet, which is also really really cool. Um, and what else am I thinking of? Well, I don't know. And again, we talked about a lot of the Force question mark stuff, which I think is interesting. So largely enjoy it. It's working to set up the right things. I just think it would have done itself a big favor by being a lot longer. So before we get into the scene by scene breakdown,
Yeah.
let's read, which we didn't do last week, even though it's kind of one of our newer traditions, is read a featured review from IMDb. But in our defense, the episode was
Oh,
already
yeah, we
3 hours
forgot.
long, so I think
Yeah.
I think we're
We didn't
okay.
need anybody else's opinions in it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this one is a 5 out of 10, written by Sonic Shades on IMDb, titled "Filler Episode." So we're already off on a great foot because we those longtime listeners of the show know how we feel about
I
the
know, we
term
hate that
filler.
term.
Yeah, we're not a big fan. All right, so I literally fell asleep during this episode. Well, I guess Sonic Shades and my girlfriend both fell asleep. But to be fair, she was exhausted. So, and she
Okay.
literally can't stay awake for movies or anything else. It's like her chance to finally nap. So I don't blame her for it. But anyway, this person literally fell asleep during the episode. It felt like act one of an episode, not a full episode. I think it's 2 acts of a 3-act episode. So I kind of agree with them there. The entire episode could have been a 15-minute sequence. Well, I don't know. The dogfight was pretty basic and boring. There was nothing creative about it, about what they were doing. Not anywhere near as exciting or as suspenseful as the great dogfights in Star Wars: Obi-Wan versus Jango, Han versus Imperial Star Destroyer, Rey and Finn versus TIE Fighters, Mando v Pirates. An interesting selection of scenes. None from the
Yeah.
animated verse, obviously. I continue to have mixed feelings on Rosario as Ahsoka. She's so emotionless and dull. I don't really blame the writing as much as I do the directing. I hope they start to give her more to do in her own show, though. Yeah, she's suffering from the same thing a little bit that that our friend at the Book of Boba Fett, Boba himself, suffered from in his own show, which was not being the main character of his own
Right.
show. Sabine really feels like she's the main character of the show,
Right, yeah.
largely. And and we know it's a spiritual successor to Rebels anyway. So, and I have been seeing a lot of
Mhm.
this kind of pushback on Rosario Dawson as of late about her performance, but I do think it is a question not so much of her performance, but of her directing and the writing to some degree. They have made Ahsoka into a very stoic character, and the reason maybe for that is because
They
of the way that
have,
she's
yeah.
portrayed at the end of Rebels, where she shows up in her white cloak and taps her staff, right? Very stoic and cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the version that we know from her younger age is much more warm. So there's a potential that we'll see some of that, some more warmth from her. I hope, because not that I agree that she's the problem. I just think that they've maybe missed the mark a little bit with the characterization, or again, it's just like a time jump situation where this is just where she is right now, and if we maybe get some
Well,
other
right.
inner time
Yeah.
filled in, we'll get a better sense of what her headspace is like or why she got
Yeah,
in this
she is much
position.
older, like, she's not a kid anymore, right? But
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump into the scene by scene breakdown. Do you want to give me the just if you have a style for this, Rachel, do it however you like. I don't listen to me. I'm not going to offer any tips. Just jump
what?
right in.
You want me
Yeah,
to do it?
you're going to do it.
This was
Were you
not discussed
expecting that?
beforehand.
Sorry, I thought that was clear.
I
I
know
thought
I
that
was
was
not. I
clear
thought you were.
you want me to read it?
I hate you.
I can just read
I
it.
thought
I can
you were
just
just
read
gonna read
it.
my notes, but this is fine. Fine.
I can do that if you
Yeah, you
prefer.
just read my notes.
Okay, we can try
I
that.
do prefer.
Okay, let's start there. I guess before we do that, quick reminder: follow us on Twitter at TowerBabbleCast, Facebook.com/TowerBabbleCast, and head over to our website towerbabble.ca to find everything that we do, including the titular show, the Tower of Babel podcast, where we cover a much broader range of typically genre-inspired film and television. So, Part 3. This is Ahsoka, Season 1, Episode 3, titled Part 3, Time to Fly. And the log line here is Hera tangles with New Republic politics while Ahsoka and Sabine voyage to a distant planet. Now, we haven't really been a big fan of the log lines, I feel like, on some of these shows, because if we're being honest, Hera tangles with New Republic politics is literally one scene in this episode.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
little disingenuous. And also, we also knew where Ahsoka and Sabine were going after, like in the last episode. There's not a mystery there about where they're going. So anyway,
Right.
it has a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. I think that's a fair enough scale. Um, written
Yeah.
by Dave Filoni, directed by Steph Green again. She directed last week's episode. I think she does a commendable job here as well. And let's jump into it. So, opening helmets are Vader, 3PO, Mando, Merrick, Huyang, Chopper, and Sabine. I think that
I missed a
those are the
couple.
same. Yeah, I think they haven't
Yeah, I
changed.
think this. All right. Yeah, my TV is annoying, and it wouldn't let me pause during the helmets without just skipping them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I
Let's
mean? Because it gives you the little prompt on Disney Plus. I was just like, "Fuck it."
skip the intro. It's only 10 seconds, but please skip it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we open.
Yeah. I was like, "Whatever."
Let's just jump in. Let's start with now. I'm gonna read this verbatim. So if anything sounds weird, it's your fault, not mine. Okay. All right, here we go. Opens traveling through hyperspace, and we see Sabine training with Huyang using the classic Jedi forms as Ahsoka watches. He's he's as sassy as usual by telling her, quote, "Not bad, but not good," while showing her where her strikes landed. Sabine says it's been a while, to which he replies, "Obviously," which I agree, that is a sassy line. So yeah,
Yeah.
this opening scene is interesting. I love
I
the
feel like
visual
he's just so
style.
mean to Sabine.
He's just honest. And he says so as much to Ahsoka, right? He's just saying the truth, right? Um, at least as he sees it. And so I love Hu Yang here as like the rest of his physical droid body having alternative uses than just making lightsabers or
Mhm.
finding lightsaber parts. So he has these like traditional Japanese style, essentially, and this is obviously Japanese style. You can tell by the way by the different forms he's telling her to use. Those are all Japanese words,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
obviously Jedi being very similar to samurai in concept is not a leap, but cool to see it kind of more practically done here. And so she's practicing with a wooden sword, also very Japanese and samurai, and working on her cuts. And then typically, so in the real world, those um, rods that she cuts through, in this case, are, in my opinion, very cool as holograms. But in the real world, I think they're rolled bamboo,
Mhm.
and so you cut through these bamboo things, and
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah.
you're testing the sharpness of your cut of your katana. So it's pretty cool that they've kind of replicated this here. And I don't know. I just think it looks cool. Watching anybody train as a Jedi is interesting. Um, Again, Hu Yang, as you mentioned, still very skeptical about her abilities. But I thought she looked pretty good. I thought he was being maybe a little harsh.
Yeah. I don't know, I just like this kinda different view of Jedi training because 'cause we've seen the training droid thing a million times. I just thought this was quite cool having this droid that can, get you to take these strikes and then kinda be able to show you where those strikes landed. I felt like
Yeah,
that's a really cool way for them to show, like, a different way of training.
yeah. It's what Star Wars does best, which takes old concepts and make them seem sci-fi and newish at the same time. Yeah, great intro, and again, I love that we didn't rush through this. It really takes its time. Ahsoka then gives Sabine a mask to black out her sight as she starts to train her, which has a faded symbol of the old Jedi Order on it. We can also see some training droids in the background on the shelf. So those are like those little like ball sphere things that like zap Luke in A New
Yeah,
Hope. Yeah,
shoot
uh,
you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think this is nice, right? Ahsoka taking a more hands-on approach to her training, right? Gives her the mask with the cover on it. Now, obviously, this is a callback to A New Hope and Luke's first training. I think she does pretty good, but I don't feel like she tapped into the Force so much as she was just really keen with her senses, which is maybe part way there. Or how did you assess her performance with the mask?
I didn't think it was that bad. You mean, like, Ahsoka's just kind of wandering around her, tapping her every once in a while to, so she's not
Yes.
the best at it, but I feel like she could have done a lot worse.
Do you
Like,
think
she's
she
not
would have been able?
flailing.
Do you think she would have been able to hold her own at all with one of those training droids? Because that really takes the
N
sensing out of it, right? You have to be able to predict where it's going to come from.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like she would have been
that's
shot probably a
that's
lot.
probably why she left those on the shelf, I guess. You mentioned here that Sabine
Yeah,
says that
that's
the
later
same
on.
line that Luke says in A New Hope says, "quote I can't see how am I supposed to fight." That's my good impression of a whiny Luke, which is when I was supposed to pick up some power converters at Tashi Station. Big whiny Luke. Um. Anyway, Ahsoka tells her, "quote sense my intention," as she circles her and begins her training. Um, and then you asked, "Do we get some Jedi speed here? Maybe." What do you think?
Yeah, because she's like, "Where am I?" I think so. I don't know, maybe a little bit because she's like, "Where am I?" And she's like, "Oh, you're beside Hu Yang." And then a second later, she's like, "Am I?" And she's like on the other side of her. So I'm like, "Oh, is she using that Jedi speed
I hope
that
so.
we
We didn't get to
see the
see it.
one
It's
time
off.
in?
It's off screen, so
We
you
didn't
don't
actually see
know.
it
But
off screen.
it would be
Yeah,
cool if that was what she did there. Another I saw in one of my write ups that I was reading, someone said maybe it was the rare force teleportation ability, which I
right.
don't think so. That's not what happened there.
No,
I think it's just a fun visual gag. Is mostly what it is.
yeah. What I do find funny though is that Sabine would ask this whole thing about like, "I can't see, how am I supposed to fight?" When it's like she fought beside Kanan, who was blind for like a real long time. It's like you've seen a blind Jedi still be able to do everything. He was blind when he trained her with the dark saber.
Yeah, Kane references to Kanan are like conspicuously absent in this episode when you have a blind Jedi training and you have right like it's so wild. It's funny that you brought that up. I didn't even think about that. And you have his literal son walking around on screen, and
Yeah.
we don't get
Yeah.
no not a reference to Jedi that she trained with. Never mind his name specifically, which I think would have been better. But maybe they're just trying to not confuse general audiences and say they'd be like, "Well,
Is that
who's that?"
why?
You know, I
Like, is
guess
that
I
because
don't know.
it's too confusing? Because they're already referencing Thrawn and Ezra, so if they reference Kanan, it's like, well, you should have just watched Rebels.
Yeah, I guess.
But
But
you
like
shoulda,
again,
so I don't know.
it's the same thing that they did in Mando season 3, whereas like all this stuff with Bo-Katan's past that are just go completely unmentioned, even though they make perfect sense to
Yeah.
mention in the context of what's going on, and choosing to do so because it's not convenient to reference something that happened in an animated show, I think does a disservice not only to their own production of the animated stuff, which I think is highly worth watching, as we've talked about before, and is able to tell compelling stories and adult stories if as need be. Like, hey, but the fact that Bo-Katan was a terrorist at one point, right? Probably worth mentioning. But
Yeah.
it never comes up because it's too confusing. And I think you got to give people more credit than that. And B, people love backstory. So give them some interesting references to backstory. Do a flashback if you want. Bring Freddie Prince Jr. out of retirement and get him to slap on a helmet and
Oh,
do
that'd be
some
sick.
right and do some flashbacks. Who knows? I don't whatever. It just seems if we're gonna keep talking around him, at some point we just need to reference him. That's what I think. You mentioned here that the blind training is a classic call to old kung fu films and basically every martial arts movie ever. I agree. The blind swordsman is like a trope at this point. Ahsoka and Sabine spar
Yeah.
with without landing many hits, and we end with Ahsoka sweeping her legs out as she tells her, "quote Anger and frustration are quick to give power, but they also unbalance you," which is a great shorthand for the dark side might give you the strength you think you need, but it also blinds you to all sorts of other things.
Right. And see, this is what makes me wonder if, like, maybe this is the issue with Sabine training with Ahsoka before, was, like, Sabine was too quick to anger and getting too frustrated, and Ahsoka was just like, "I can't do this," like, with, the past not her past, but with knowing what happened to Anakin, and the same reason why she wouldn't train Grogu, right? Because he was
Too many
too attached to
attachments.
Din. So I feel like
Yeah.
Ahsoka's kind of got this, yeah, like she's kind of got this freak out when it comes to anybody that's, too angry or too attached or like has too many big emotions. She's a little too scared to train them.
Yeah, I'd like them to explore that more. We just don't know the answer to that question, and I would like to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to explore that with the show, but I don't know if the show is interested in that. Um, you also mentioned that this makes us think of a set of Anakin, and yeah, as you mentioned, I think that's totally spot on. All right, so we then move on to a shot of the New Republic fleet, and we get a shot of a squadron of A-wings flying in along joint formation along the capital ship Home One. There are also some Rebel blockade runners, which we've seen from all sorts of stuff. A Nebulon B frigate, and an unnamed New Republic command ship from the last episode. We don't know what kind of transport that is, but it's really cool to see a big fleet like this and all the A-wings running along it and all the stuff with that without having to be like, oh, that's the bad guys. They get all the cool stuff. In this show, at least the good guys get the cool stuff mostly, right? It's cool to see a
Yeah,
good
right.
fleet. I'm coming around to this idea that by the time we catch up to everything in episode 7, that the New Republic has completely imploded on itself, basically, and that they are ripe for the picking by the First Order, and that's how Hosnian Prime gets destroyed. But again, it would have been nice to kind of experience a little bit of this portion of the timeline before we got to the complete and utter destruction of the New Republic government in the first 30 minutes of episode 7. But getting it
Yeah.
here is pretty cool, and I just love the shots of the ships and all this stuff. It just, again, we're so used to seeing big fleets be Imperial, right, in live action, and this is kind of a
Right,
different
yeah.
change of that, and I appreciate it. Um, let's see. Okay, so I actually have more thoughts on this whole New Republic concept, but I'll wait till we get to the
Yeah.
through this Hera sequence. Okay, so we cut to Hera on the command ship, walking into a meeting with the New Republic Senate Committee, which is led by Mon Mothma, once again played by Genevieve O'Reilly, who we last saw on Andor, absolutely crushing it
Andor.
on Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Gosh, she's just so good. Yeah, she's great.
yeah, she really is great. Speaking of, you mentioned a friend of the show, Ryan Airy from Screen Crush. He tweeted today that they should really just release the deleted scene from episode 3 of her her Senate meeting, basically, as some sort of either flashback in some show or just reinsert it into the movie in some way. Which at this point it's
Yeah.
becomes like so iconic that they might as well, right?
Yeah.
So we cut to Hera on the command ship. She meets with Mon Mothma, who is now Chancellor of the New Republic, right? Beside her, we have Senator Ziono, who, for those who've watched Resistance, is the father of Kaz Ziono, who is the lead character on Star Wars Resistance. His father in that show kind of looms large. Doesn't have it like isn't on doesn't make a lot of appearances per se until the closer to the end of the series, but kind of has this very strict idea of what Kaz is supposed to be and how he's supposed to grow up and all that kind of stuff. He's a former
Right.
he helps Kaz get into the New Republic Fighter Academy or Flight Academy before he eventually kind of joins the Resistance, which his father disapproves of. It's interesting. It's interesting that they bring him in here at all. It's kind of a bit of a deep cut reference because it's, again, we talk about it. It's from a show that's not really well
Yeah.
liked necessarily, or at least not well viewed. Like there's not. It's just not. It's the least popular amongst them. I've seen a lot of episodes. Like I selectively watched ones that looked interesting, and I've seen like I've seen the finale and some like the episodes leading up to that and stuff. But I just haven't gone back and watched every single one, and nor will I.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just something that never interested me. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should because it's like one of the only pieces of Star Wars medium that I haven't watched, but
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. One day.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not. It's not that I don't like the show. It just didn't grab me. Um, it's good that they're bringing and tying it together because otherwise it felt even more detached from everything else. And we are getting into the right time frame, so it does make sense. Anyway, so it's also interesting that they're making him a character here, right? He has a instant presence as someone who's a bit of a curmudgeon, has a different approach to Mon Mothma, who seems genuinely concerned for Hera and Thrawn and everything that she's kind of trying to bring to the table here. So Mon Mothma asks Hera about Jason, and we get a quick back and forth about about how how's life going? Really good. Yeah, things are great. And then they get down to business.
Yeah.
But as you've said it before, rude ass Ziono butts in. Right? He
Yeah,
says it
because
like,
the two they're just talking,
yeah,
she's like, "Oh," yeah. He's like, "Oh, how's Jason doing?" Like, stirring up trouble with Chopper, blah blah. And he's just like, "Yeah, can we just like get to the business here, ladies? Not talking about your kids."
exactly. Well, why don't we ask about your kid, Ziono? What's Kaz up to? Oh, you don't know because you're a bad father. Great, got
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
That's funny. Okay, so Hera tries to tell them that she needs a fleet to go to the Denab system to go after those looking to bring back Thawne. She basically reports that about what they found last week at the shipping yards. And Mon Mothma seems shocked to hear that Thrawn's still alive, while Ziono accuses Hera of trying to use resources from the New Republic for her own personal quest to find Ezra, who he believes is dead along with Thrawn. Now, this is interesting to me because this how widely known is Ezra and his seeming death at the hands of the Purgle alongside Thrawn at the battle of what's the name of the planet but like
Lethal.
yeah, Lothal, thank you. What How widely known is this? Why does this Ziono guy know all this information already and feel like so strongly that she must be, trying to subvert resources for her own gain? Like what? How is that? It just seems like a very strong opinion to bring about. Let's say like I know you this well because I know you're still after your dead friend, and that's why I'm accusing you of impartiality. Or in this case non is partial. So I don't know, this is confusing. How do you read this?
Yeah, I don't know. Like to me, I guess the Battle of the Thal was probably a pretty big deal at the time because I think that was a pretty big hit to the Empire. So especially Thrawn going down because I know that he was such a big kind of player at the time, and like there was dealings with between I guess Thrawn and Mon Mothma and stuff too. Because I'm pretty sure I don't know, I can't remember, but I'm almost positive like the rebels save Mon Mothma from one of Thrawn's attacks at one point too.
Yeah,
But
I believe he's involved in
so
some
I
way.
understand why it's more widely known. Yeah, but and I guess maybe if Hera has tried within these last few years before to go find Ezra and use resources, maybe she's done this before, but not that we've seen.
Right, but I feel like they would take this like okay, separate the your own personal opinion about Hera here away. She's bringing you information that there are active Imperial agents who are seeking the return of Thrawn.
Yeah.
That is valuable, and
And they're
she's
just
not
like
really
not
even
believing
asking
her.
for a lot of. She's not really asking for a lot. She's like, "Come with me, check out the system. If it's not true, then what have we really wasted, right?" So, um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just another example of the New Republic just being kind of incompetent in a lot of ways, right? Actually, so speaking of which, let's bring this up now. So this is from a review of from the Looper.com, and this section of their review is called "The New Republic Makes the Wrong Choice." Quote, "At last, Hera makes contact with Sabine and Ahsoka, but she doesn't have any good news to bring. Much to the chagrin of Sabine, the New Republic Senate Committee has decided not to send the New Republic fleet to the Denab system. It seems that Mothma and her fellow senators don't feel that the threat of Thrawn, who they wholeheartedly believe is indeed dead, is the one that requires any attention or allocation of resources to combat. So Sabine, Ahsoka, and Huyang are on their own due to what will become many instances of poor Republic decision making. Basically, from the moment it takes
Yeah,
over,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
basically from the moment it takes over from the Galactic Empire, the New Republic makes a series of notable missteps: the hiring of former Imperial agents, attempting to give Imperial operatives amnesty, and downplaying the strategic moves of Imperial remnant factions, all plant the seeds of its own destruction. Therefore, it's no surprise that the regime crumbles after a mere few decades, falling into yet another devastating conflict, this time with the First Order. It reaches its crescendo when the New Republic Senate, stationed on Hosnian Prime, is annihilated by the First Order's Starkiller base alongside the entire Hosnian system. By the way, we should mention Senator Ziono. He's from Hosnian Prime, so there's some
Yes, yes.
connection there. So his kind of mincing of Hera here really does put him at, it ultimately plays a role in the destruction of his own home planet. So interesting kind of weight to that. But again, this portion of this looper stuff resonates with me. We skip forward in the episode a little bit. Spoilers for the decision that Mon Mothma makes, but basically, um, the New Republic does make a series of blunders, and I appreciate that the show is giving us a look into that. What irks me though, and what I was kind of alluding to a little bit when I was talking about how I love the shots of the fleet and all that kind of stuff, and how I wish we got some more of that before episode 7, is that I would like to see the good guys be competent for a little while, give them some
I
sense
know,
of
yeah.
victory. Instead, we're just going to like jump right into it, and it's like this is like the old Republic all over again. Oh, corrupt senators. Oh, the Jedi Order doesn't, is basically in shambles. All it's like it really feels a lot like we're replaying the stuff from the Clone Wars era and from the prequels again, with the New Republic basically filling in for the Old Republic. It's a lot of the same mistakes, a lot of the same players involved, and it just like I would have liked a little bit more um, some overt victory, some a little bit more kind of relishing in the celebration of defeating the Empire before we went right into showing how inept the New Republic is. That's my one kind of caveat. Any other thoughts on the on?
Yeah, I
I
would
guess
agree with
let
that
me
too.
finish up with this, and then we'll jump on the last thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so let's see here. Hera gets heated and throws a jab at Ziono about how he never participated in the war and, quote, just waited to see who ended up on top. But she regains composure. The Senate committee ultimately denies her request as usual in these circumstances. The idea that they're already at the point where they have this like 4-person Senate committee who's able to make these like massive decisions, and so much politics is already involved, is like exactly what Mon Mothma and Padme and all that were working against in the system, the corrupt system of the Old Republic. So it's like it just feels like what from Mon Mothma's perspective, that she's a big part of why this isn't working, and she kind of owns a lot of that blame, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah,
All right,
yeah, definitely. I just
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, it's kind of that typical I totally agree with you when you say that, it would've been nice to see them listening for once. Like, why would you not believe them when they straight up come to you and say, "Hey, these Imperials were, like, basically saying, 'Hail the Empire,'" and you're just gonna straight up be
Right.
like, "Ah, that doesn't sound right." Like, "I don't think so." Like, it's just crazy to me that, yeah, you can't
Yeah.
just give them a win here, right? But, I mean, we gotta make things a little bit more difficult for our heroes here.
Yeah, and I guess like really what's going on is they're setting up a scenario where Ahsoka and Sabine and Hu Yang are going to be the only ones who are on the quote unquote good guy side, who are on that giant ring that gets sent to that nearby galaxy, because otherwise it doesn't it's just the way that the show needs to work. And so I understand that to some degree, but again, this is just a larger conceit about the Star Wars galaxy during this timeline as it exists, as we know it. Okay, so Hera leaves the room and we meet Jason in the hall with Chopper. So we get to meet Jason. This is Hera's son. We first were introduced to Hera's son in the finale of Rebels. and notably with the green hair, which
Mhm.
returns here, which is interesting. Um, I saw I saw somebody comparing him to an Oompa Loompa, which is just very funny, but mean a little bit, I guess. Uh, and and it's nice that we get to meet the character. Um, there's basically the character gets about as much character development as we got at the end of Rebels, which is little to none. I guess all we know is that Jason would like to be a
Yeah.
Jedi one day. Okay, sure, why not? Your dad was one,
Yeah.
so you might have
Yeah, I
you might
mean,
have something going for you there.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess worth mentioning his
Now,
father.
does force sensitivity, is it
th-
does it pass down, like, or is that not a thing?
I think it does, right? The Skywalkers are strong with the Force, right?
Yeah.
My father had it.
Yeah.
I have it.
Okay, so, like,
Now you have it.
he should be force sensitive.
Yeah, I'm sure he is, and I'm sure Hera's just reluctant to let anybody train. He's still quite young. I guess what's also interesting
Oh,
about this is that
probably.
we find out we kind of able to zero in on timeline a bit here. He looks to be only slightly older than he was in the Rebels finale, right? We're talking a few
Yeah,
years
that's what I was
here
gonna say.
max. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't know really anything about this character. Will be interesting to see if we get some more character development there, or maybe that's just picked up later. Maybe he's an older character that we meet at Rey's new Jedi Academy. That we know that movie's coming eventually, maybe one
Yeah.
day. So maybe we'll get to meet him again then, and when he's not an annoying, snot nosed child. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm being a little harsh, but it's just nothing. There's just nothing really there. I guess the biggest thing is that like she's a Twi'lek and her baby daddy, R.I.P., is Kanan, is a human. So naturally, the offspring is a human with green hair, right?
Yeah, that's wild. It doesn't, which is because we get in, I can't remember if it's Clone Wars or yeah, it's Clone Wars, where there was, like, a clone who loses his memory, and he starts a family with a Twi'lek, and his kids, at least one of them looks like a Twi'lek, from what I
Oh,
remember.
really?
Like, cut it wasn't Cut, it was somebody else, yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's Cut. Cut's family.
and Kat has children with this Twi'lek woman. I don't remember that. I'm sure you're right. I don't remember what they look like. Maybe it's a roll of the
We see
dice.
them in Bad
Like
Batch too because yeah. Yeah, we see them in Bad Batch because that's the ones that Hunter is thinking of just
right,
sending, Omega with because 'cause they're already a family, but yeah.
Omega,
Yeah,
Omega,
whatever.
Omega.
Omega.
Um, yeah. I guess you're right. I guess maybe it's like how uh if you have a baby with somebody, they get like the hair color or eye color, and
Yes,
maybe the
yeah, yeah.
genetics of this work out like you either get one race or the other. Like that's how it works.
Yeah,
Is you
who
kind of
knows?
it's like a
It's
50-50 roll of the dice. I don't know. Um,
crapshoot.
any final thoughts on Jason and this Mon Mothma situation, or we get to see Chopper here for a brief second. But what? Any
Yeah.
final thoughts there?
Um, I mean, not really. It's like it's cute that they kinda bring Jason in. We were curious if we were gonna see him or not throughout, this show. So it's it's kinda cool he's in it. I don't think we're really gonna maybe see him again. I think that was just a quick little, cameo for the fans
Well,
of,
again, he has to be.
Rebels. But, obviously, I love seeing Chopper.
You can't not have the kid make an appearance. She has a child. She has to at least
Yeah.
reference him. So it's nice that they actually showed
Yeah.
him and they actually went the distance. They gave us the green hair. So kudos. This character is clearly
Yeah.
not ready for prime time yet, but it'll get there. Okay, so continuing on, Ahsoka and Sabine head to the Denam system following the tracker Chopper put on the transport from the previous episode. We get a scene here with Ahsoka and Sabine sitting at the table, which comes out of the dojo floor. Very cool. Yeah, I think we saw the table and chair thing happening an episode before, but worth mentioning that it does come out of the floor. And I wish I had like tables and chairs that could come out of the floor, so you could use that space for other things.
Right?
Just right, but
Me
also then your
too.
feet are on the top of the table.
Yeah,
You got to
so
consider
smart.
that.
Yeah, he just
um,
washed it.
yeah, yeah, no, of course, a clean rag and you're good to go. They talk about
Yeah.
wielding the Force, and Ahsoka explains that it runs through everyone and every living thing. Sabine asks, "quote If that's true, why doesn't everyone use it?" Which, to be honest, is like the perfect response to that, because that's isn't that like what everyone would say?
Yeah,
Like, if everyone has the Force, why isn't everyone just
absolutely.
floating stuff around all the time, right? And Ahsoka answers, "Talent is a factor,
Exactly.
but training and focus are truly define someone's success." Unquote, bringing back George Lucas's previous statements that anyone can use the Force regardless of their midichlorian count. And this is true. This is from an interview given years and years ago, back in the 80s, about George Lucas said that and compared, by the way, compared the Force to yoga, which was like a very common thing at that time, because yoga was brand new. But that anyone
Right.
could do it. And again, this is kind of what I was saying before, but like, think of it as like pro level. Anyone can try. Anyone can do the basics, right? And maybe like it's pro level or like Olympic level sports that like no one really does, like pole vaulting, right? You can all try, but like, if you just started today, you'd probably hurt yourself. You're not even probably going to get off the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I feel like we're talking about here. Nothing. It's not even approachable. It's not like pickleball, which is very pick up and play. You know, those who know is what I'm
Or
saying.
skeleton.
Or exactly, or skeleton, where you just lie down on a board and go flying down an icy track. Seems very dangerous, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
what do I know? But something like, yeah, that uses high skill, and a lot of technique, but again, capable, possible. Um, what else? We later get a conversation between Huyang and Ahsoka where he talks about how Sabine never would have been made a good Jedi candidate, and that very few Mandalorians have ever been one. He then notes, however, that Ahsoka does come from a quote long line of non-traditional Jedi, and you mentioned here specifically Yoda, Dooku, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, and that chain specifically is, I think, as you mentioned, non-traditional is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah. That's kind of the point of, yeah, why I put it in there. It's just like they not that Yoda, just, Yoda trained Dooku who, goes dark side, and then there's Qui-Gon.
Right.
It's like they all kind of have their own quirks to them, right? So,
Yeah, I think what we learn is that all Jedi have their own quirks. So this idea that like what makes the right Jedi or
yeah,
wrong
that's
Jedi
true.
was always a preconceived notion. Mace Windu, that was fraught with all sorts of problems. Um, Anything else you want to mention about this
Yeah.
scene? I mean, all I want to say is that I just love, as I said before, love this dynamic about will she, won't she with the Force stuff. I think it's very interesting. I like the allusions to Ahsoka's past and how that works, and getting to see her train somebody after having her be the Padawan for so long is also, I think, very
Right.
satisfying to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just liking getting back, like not getting back, but how we're kind of how you mentioned earlier with the whole Last Jedi thing about how we're slowly inching back to that, like anybody can be a Jedi thing, which is just fun for the fans. It's fun for the kids out there who still want to try to pretend that they can move things with their hands. And once they start seeing what Jedi can do, right? So it just kind of leaves the fun out there for the viewers.
Yeah, and by the way, again, just quick shout out too, the way that they shot her little like standoff with the teacup is very amusing. It's very fun. And again,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
anyone who's a Star Wars fan has sat somewhere in front of something and tried to make it float and come to them, um, at least once in their life. So I think it's all very relatable. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all
So
done it.
so they come out of hyperspace far from the planet as Young is still following the old Jedi protocol. Their alarm starts going off as we see Shin and Merrick have appeared with some other cannon fodder pilots and engage Ahsoka's ship. We get a good old Star Wars dogfight. Yeah, I love this. I love the ships that the fighters that they're flying. They look like World War II
Hmm.
style. They sound like World War II style fighter
Yeah,
jets
they do.
too, like or fighter planes because they're not jets. But like the Mustang kind of this style. And then the way that they have the green lasers shooting out feels much more like, again, World War II style machine guns than the laser cannons on the front of a TIE fighter. So very, and the sound design being specifically different, more sounding like bullets almost, like with these little short pew 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 pews instead of the longer, louder pew pew that you get with the TIE fighter. You guys know what I mean with the sound
Yes.
effects. Yeah.
Yes.
Really like
Sorry, you don't
that.
have your sound effects, so
I don't. I should have pulled that up so I had that right in front of me. Um, Ahsoka and Sabine have trouble at first tackling the ships, but Ahsoka eventually realizes she needs to work with Sabine, so it's a good little lesson, and follows her lead. Sabine is able to take out a few of the enemy ships, obviously with no one important in them. Obviously, imagine if she's like, and there
yeah.
she goes, and the whole Shin thing is now not an issue anymore. Yeah, yeah, that doesn't work that way in these shows.
I just find it funny that, like, anytime like, as soon as I saw, Shin and Merrick show up with a bunch of, with whatever, I think it's, like, 3 other ships, I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, like, those other 3 are all dead." You just know immediately that they're just gonna be dead. I'm like, "Well, yeah."
In Star Trek, we call that red shirts. We know that they're going to be expendable.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Ahsoka then let's see. Hu Yang needs time to scan the structure that is being built. This is the Eye of Sion, not to be confused with the Eye of Sauron. That's a different thing. Um, the structure that is being built, and they say, and she's like, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like a giant hyperspace ring. And again, just to reiterate, because I think I mentioned this last week, hyperspace rings as a concept is really cool. I kind of wish that the show didn't even have internal, or like Star Wars didn't even have internal based hyperdrives, that every ship needed to use some sort of hyperspace ring style concept. That
Oh,
would be
okay.
really cool, in my opinion, because it creates this really cool, like, inherent limitation on getting around. It's like anyone can drive a car, but then if you want to take that car across the ocean, you have to put it on a ship. That's how I feel like that works. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but anyway, I think it's cool. So Hu Yang needs more time to scan the structure that is being built. So Ahsoka and Sabine need to keep on course toward the hyperspace ring while being shot at by cannons on the structure. So yeah, by the big what do they call them? Not blaster cannons. I can't remember what they're called, but on the structure, which
I
eventually
can't
leave
remember
them dead
either.
in
Yeah.
space. But they're the ones that you would see on the side of a star destroyer, basically. They're
Yeah,
the
yeah,
larger
yeah.
style, like ship to ship
Ion
combat.
cannons? I don't know.
No, the ion cannons are those blue circles that like
Oh.
knock out systems and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah. Right.
Ahsoka then leaves the ship and goes into right. So here's important to note. So they get shot by one of the cannons on the Eye of Sion. The ship gets broken down. This is kind of confusing. I feel like the show doesn't handle this well, so which is why I wanted to slow down here. It gets hit. It knocks out their systems, which I guess drops them out of scanning ability by the Eye of Sion. So they're kind of safe
Right.
for a short time, but you have the two remaining of Merrick and what's her name coming down
Shin.
on them. Shin. Thank you. And coming down on them to kind of finish them off. So Ahsoka jumps out in an EV suit, which looks a lot like the style EV suits that we saw from Clone Wars. I don't know if the Screen Rant folks bring this up. Did our friend Ryan Airy mention
Yes, they did, and
this?
it
Yeah.
yeah, it has the old Jedi, like, logo on the shoulder, apparently.
Oh,
So
really?
they are from,
Okay.
like, yeah, they're from, like, Clone Wars era or something.
Yeah. Anyway, she jumps out onto the. Here's what I was thinking. I thought we were gonna get two Last Jedi um, style callbacks or acknowledgments where she was just going to go out into the space without anything on.
Yeah.
Which obviously pisses people off with the
Right.
whole quote unquote Mary Poppins scene with Leia. But we've
Mary
actually
Poppins
seen
thing,
Jedi
yeah.
survive in space before, as I mentioned. I think years and years ago,
Yeah.
and I have before. We have seen that
Plo
happen. They can survive.
Plo Koon.
Exactly. Plo Koon famously in the season 1 arc where he loses his entire platoon. So yes, um, anyway, she doesn't do that. She goes on onto the wing with her uh, um, EV suit on and deflects some blaster shots from the ships and does this cool jumping move where she cuts the ship's like one of the enemy ship's wings off. It's so badass, to be honest. Like the little like
Yeah,
leaping move she
very
does. I
cool.
don't know if in space that works that way. Like I feel like if you kick yourself off, you're not gonna come back around. There's no gravity to pull you back to the ship, you know. But
Right.
we're not gonna nitpick this.
The
This is not.
Force.
Yeah, she, she uses the Force to guide herself. And as I said before, there's no reason Jedi can't fly. They should be able to fly. Okay, this is the closest they get
Yeah.
to it. I guess basically. Um, so she deflects shots from Merrick and Shin's ship. We get some very fun ship slicing action and shots of Ahsoka flipping around in space while Sabine works on getting her ship up and running and complains that Hu Yang is out of commission at that time. It's really unfortunate that they don't have an astromech with
Yeah.
them. They could really use an R2, is what I'm saying, or a BB-8, or
Yeah, they
a
really
chopper,
could.
or
Yeah.
really anybody. An R5, even that scaredy cat R5 would have been good, or R4. Is it R4? It's R4. Anyway, um,
R4, yeah.
eventually they fix the ship and are able to fly down into the lower atmosphere. So just in time, they're able to buy time and fly down into the planet's atmosphere. We get to see um, Purgle in their full glory in live action. What did you think of this reveal?
Oh, so cool. Like, I was so pumped that all of a sudden we get Purgle. I wasn't too sure if maybe the Purgle were gonna help them out or not, but I guess not. That's not really their jam because Ezra wasn't there to communicate with them. But again, this is where I thought maybe Sabine has a little bit of Force intuition on being able to navigate through the Purgle because she
Yeah,
can was able to lose Shin and Merrick.
yeah, and there's that moment where they like are like flying really close to the tentacles, and it looked like they could have easily been like knocked over, or knocked aside by the tentacle things, but
Yeah,
don't. So
exactly.
you're right, that's possible there, and we know that the Purgle are force sensitive in some way, right? So she might have connected with them somehow, but again, that's more Ezra's thing. So, um, it's, I think ultimately this pays off two things. It pays off the Purgle that we see in the clouds in Episode 1, right? They might in Episode 2, but I'm pretty sure Episode 1. Um, that I think a lot of people might have missed, and that they specifically mention how there was potential travel between galaxies following Purgle migration routes, which has been a long
Yes.
theory, I
Yes.
think, by
Yeah.
most people following the show, that what they're doing is following these Purgle migration routes to get to wherever Thrawn and Ezra might be. And you know what? Without overthinking it, it makes sense, and I'm here for it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I saw some stupid theory where someone was, like, saying that they thought the hyperspace ring that they're building, they were gonna, like, put it around the neck of a Purgle and, like, ride it, and I was like,
That's
into
so
the new
funny.
galaxy. I'm like, "Yeah, but the Purgles don't need it." Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, they don't need that, so it's dumb.
that's that you're right. That is so funny. Um, okay. Just it's so fun. The idea. Well, no, because they don't. The Purgles don't need it. They need to ride the Purgles. So maybe that's what they're thinking. You know, they
Yeah,
harness the
exactly.
Purgles'
Yeah, I
power.
guess.
But it's still
But
silly.
then still, how are you gonna make it go somewhere? Yeah,
I want
it's
to
so dumb.
see. I want to see these live action Purgles do their whole like tail thing where they like light up in colors
Ooh,
and
yeah.
then go pew and shoot off
Yeah,
into
yeah, me
hyperspace.
too.
That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, those
It
things
also pays off the scene
yeah, it was
from
very neat to see them
Mandalorian
in live
season
action.
3, where we see uh, Grogu kind of connect or at least notice one in their hyperspace lane while they're
Yes.
flying to
Yes,
wherever the heck
yes,
they're
yeah.
flying. Um, yeah, I think it's cool to see the Purgle. We already knew that they were talking. They've been mentioned a couple times. We saw one in the clouds. We saw one in the drawings on the wall of that temple last week. So and in that compass, that like holographic compass situation that they have. So it wasn't a surprise. We knew that they would make an appearance here. I think they look really cool. I think if people weren't expecting giant space whales, I think that does a good job of introducing them without having to kind of like give the whole expositionary thing about how they travel hyperspace lanes, etc. They do some of that, but it's not
Right.
clunky. I think so. It's good. Okay, so Sabine does an incredible job navigating through the Purgle, as you mentioned, is able to lose Shin and Merrick. They're able to land in the forest, which is completely red, convenient for their ship because it's also red. And Ahsoka turns off Huyang using a neck switch, just like Leia does to C-3PO. Yeah, and also like super rude to just turn people off. The line between
It's
droid
just so funny.
and person is very thin, and as
Yeah.
sometimes so thin you can't tell the difference in some cases, but you can't turn people off,
Right.
but you can turn off droids, and it's like it's a little rude to just flip someone's switch off, but
No, but
whatever.
I think aren't they turning him off so that they can't scan for
Yes,
him? So that
yes,
they
yes.
can't scan for the, right. Yeah. But I mean, also, you'd think by now they could have a way of just being able to scan, like, a heat signature for a massive plane that just landed in a tree, like, in a forest. But whatever. I guess
Yeah,
not.
that's not to think about that. um yeah, and like I think, yeah, I mean, don't think about logistics. They need to switch off the power stuff so that they don't get scanned. Fair enough. Just, with a
Yeah.
droid as kind of intelligent and human as Hu Yang, just ask his permission before you flip his switch off. That's all. That's all I'm saying. A little consent goes a
Yeah,
long
that's
way.
fair.
And then we end the episode with a shot of Balin sending in a squad of kind of his goons to go find them in the forest, go hunt down the Jedi. Um, Again, we felt like this kind of scene kind of ends on a bit of a downer note, just kind of not the right note anyway to cap an episode on.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like we easily could have got another 15-minute sequence of this team or these guys, whoever they are, like, whatever, trying to hunt down Ahsoka and Sabine. But I guess not. I guess maybe we'll see that next week.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention, I think that specific scene would have been cool because it would have really felt like they're going through a gauntlet together, right? Survive the thing,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
survive getting shot down, then get on the ground, and then having to take out these goons before kind of maybe disappearing into hiding again, kind of creates a different feel than what we get here. So I don't know, mixed bag on that. Obviously, we're a little bummed about the length. We'd like something longer. But it does bring us to the end of the episode, which means we are at the end of this episode of Small Screen Star Wars. Again, no, my final thoughts I think have already been covered. Largely, like a lot of the main themes here. Wish they spent more time on some of the stuff. Wish the show gave itself more time to breathe. I feel like it's a budgetary issue. They want to keep the budget down. The viewership has, I'm hearing mixed things. Some people are saying that it's doing pretty well. Others people saying that it's not doing well. From a viewership standpoint, I think it's doing well enough to justify its existence right now, but it does probably need
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
little bit more oomph. It, the Star Wars franchise needs a movie to connect to some of these shows to really inject it with some life. I think that would give it go a long way. We've been really living off TV now for, what is it, since the Rise of Skywalker, so it's been a while, right? And I
Yeah.
think TV is a different medium. It requires different things, but if you're trying to maintain momentum for $1 billion franchise like Star Wars, you need, I think, a big tentpole movie to kind of keep people interested and get people invested in these characters. So I think that might be what's missing here, but this might be leading into that that Thrawn movie still. So we'll see. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Um, on that note, we will wrap things up. Apologies for some of the clunkiness this week. Hopefully, my computer will be back and running next week in time for the follow up episode. Either way, we will be back to record next week. I'll be back in my office at the very least. And we won't have to deal with bears or broken computers as much, at least hopefully, or my dog trying to kill me. So again, hopefully. So we should be back to more of a regular scheduled program. Appreciate again the patience here. Thank you for listening as always. And again, if you want to help support the show, at Tower Babblecast at Tower Biblecast on Twitter and Facebook, as well as Patreon, where you can help support the show and keep the lights on and help make it so that I can at least continue podcasting even when I am on vacation next time and we don't have to miss a show. All right. On that note, we'll let you go and we'll talk to you next week with Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 4. We'll talk to you then.